Good morning, and welcome to another episode of Levels and Meds here on the Bridge 99 FM with me, your host, Jeffrey Azan. Happy to be here, excited to be here this Tuesday morning, March 28th. And for those of you just tuning in for the first time, remember you can check out the Bridge on the entire 99 bandwidth. That means 0.1, 0.3, 0.5, 0.7, and 0.9. For those of you who want to see what's happening in studio, you can head online to thebridge99fm.com. And for those of you who are on the move, remember you can download the Bridge 99 FM app in the Android Play Store or Apple App Store by simply searching the Bridge 99 FM, all one word. Today we have an exciting episode for you where we're going to be talking about the electric vehicle revolution taking place, driving innovation in the automotive industry. And joining us today virtually is going to be co-founder and CFO of Flash Motors, Kerry Escoffery. Now, I met Kerry a few weeks ago, but I've known about him for a little while. And I'm telling you, this young, keyword, young Jamaican or Canadian Jamaican is here to really revolutionize the automotive industry and try and make a more sustainable and affordable way of transportation. We have this and so much more in today's episode of Levels and Meds. Remember, if you want to be a part of the conversation, you can always feel free to WhatsApp us at 876-551-5782 or even join the conversation by calling in at the studio line 876-676-4996. Again, the WhatsApp line is 876-551-5782 and the straight line is 876-676-4996. Remember, it's not just a lecture, it's a conversation. We want to hear from you. And with that said, let's jump into today's episode. Folks, we have been focusing on all things money this March. It's really, we dubbed it Money March, and we've looked at a number of different ways to generate income, make money, control money, innovate your business, streamline the process of controlling your money. And today we're going to be closing it out with this idea of sustainable income, sustainable industries, because one of the things is when we make money, we have to be very careful how we spend it. And one of the biggest cost factors in life for an individual or a business is the expense of energy. And the electric vehicle industry is here to radically transform that expenditure. With concerns about climate change, rising fuel prices, and the need for more sustainable transportation options, many businesses and individuals are looking towards electric mobility as the future of transportation. Electric vehicles offer a number of benefits over traditional gasoline-powered vehicles, including lower emissions, reduced fuel costs, and improved energy efficiency. However, there are still challenges to be overcome in order to fully realize the potential of electric mobility. Now, transportation is something that we as a society of people, we've consistently had an issue with mobility and what it was all about. We had an issue when we introduced the cart. There was no need for a cart. Where were we going to find horses big enough to pull these carts? And then when we introduced the car for the first time, people said we have no need for a car. We have the horses, we have coachmen, and there was even a worry of the eradication of the coachmen. And now we have the car, and we've now moved from the car and we're now looking at the electric vehicle. Again, there is this fear of this change in transportation. What does it mean for the manufacturers? What does it mean for the maintenance people? What does it mean for us, the user and owner of the vehicle? Am I going to have to go get a programming degree now in case my car breaks down with me? What does that mean for myself? We're going to be finding out all these answers, and from the perspective of somebody who is neck deep. Well, I mean, honestly, if you meet Kerry not so tall, so it might be over his head. But he's very knowledgeable about the electric vehicle industry, and we're going to be getting much more information from Kerry about it, about Flash Motors, and how we're going to be impacting the station, how we're going to be impacting Jamaica by implementing these electric vehicles. So, to all those out there in the Bridge Nation, please help me welcome to Levels and Meds for the first time, joining us virtually, Sir Kerry Escoffery, CFO and co-founder of Flash Motors. Sir Kerry, are you with us?
I am. It's a pleasure to see you again, Jeffrey. How you doing?
I am excited. I'm happy to have you here. I appreciate appreciate you joining us on what many would consider short notice, but you're willing, and I would go as further to say you're more than willing, you're excited to speak about the electric vehicle revolution. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, you know what? I'm energized.
You're energized.
It's electric. Yeah.
It's electric. I hope that's one of your taglines.
For sure. Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, no problem. So, Kerry, I'm a big believer in the fact that you have to learn who the teacher is before you learn the lesson. Do you mind introducing yourself to the people and who is Kerry and what is Flash Motor, so that they understand the perspective that you're coming from?
Yeah, no, and again, appreciate you having me. Appreciate the kind comments. I think I have a baby face, but I'm much older than you probably think. But Flash Motors is really, our commitment to the Caribbean to ensure a successful transition to electric mobility. Speaking to my background, my business partner and I started a business in Canada in the electric mobility space, developing charging infrastructure for governments, corporate clients, and utilities in Canada. But we realized there was, we really needed to take that experience back home. So both of us are Jamaican Canadians, part of the diaspora. Saw a need to start to bring that experience back to Jamaica and the Caribbean as a whole. And we really started our work in the Caribbean as consultants in 2018, servicing the same types of customers. So helping governments understand the value proposition of electric mobility, helping corporate clients understand the value proposition. And we really did that across 8 countries in the Caribbean. In doing that and understanding the unique needs of the Caribbean, we realized that there was a gap in the procurement and supply of electric vehicles. Like, who was going to provide the right product? Who was going to provide the right infrastructure? And that's really where Flash Motors was born. So we formed that company in 2021, and got some really early support from existing companies in the Caribbean marketplace, namely Wigton Wind Farm, who is in the renewable energy space, which is very much aligned with our mission and our vision. And I think uniting renewable energy potential to electric mobility is the true way forward for electric mobility. So it was really a perfect marriage. That sums it up. I mean, Xavier and I, who founded Flash Motors, have known each other since university. He's an engineer by background. I constantly refer to him as the mad scientist. My background has been finance, and kind of bringing those two worlds has really created a really dynamic pair, and that's really kind of what we're delivering into the marketplace now.
Exciting. So you've said you've already implemented this across 8 Caribbean territories so far?
Correct. So, I mean, that early work in doing, engagements with governments, engagements with utilities to help them understand electric mobility and a transition from, your traditional internal combustion engine vehicles to electric mobility was kind of that early work. Our focus now is really in being able to support them with the hard assets that are needed to support that transition.
Got you. Do you mind? And I mean, maybe there's a little, client customer privilege here, but do you mind sharing with us what islands Flash Motors has already gone in and started this sort of work outside of Jamaica?
Sure. So, I mean, okay, so, Jamaica for one, right? But outside of Jamaica, we've been to St. Lucia. We've done, quite a bit of assessments there, and we see, a very bright future for St. Lucia. Bermuda, which is not quite the Caribbean, but I call it Caribbean adjacent. We've done considerable work there. Guyana, again, I consider Caribbean adjacent. We've done considerable work there. Barbados, the Bahamas, to name a few.
Anyways, right.
And
no, for sure.
Yeah, and I think what we've learned, generally speaking, is that there is there's a consistency in the need across the region. And so Flash Motors is really about, fulfilling that need.
Got you. We're going to be going to break shortly, but before we go to break, I want to share with you some feedback. We reached out to the Bridge Nation and we asked them, is Jamaica ready for the electric vehicle conversion? And I'm here to tell, and I'm speaking for the people, and I'm not putting you in a hot seat here, but The vast majority were no, nope, we're not ready, it's not happening. There were a few who said yes, but the yes wasn't, yes, we're ready for electric vehicles. It was, yes, we need to adapt. So it wasn't, we're ready for it, but we need to adapt. And then there were a few that gave like timelines. Maybe we'll be ready in 5 years. Maybe we'll be ready in 10 years. Maybe we'll be ready in 15 years. I would love, I mean, of course, you're in the business. If you didn't believe it would work, then you wouldn't be in the business. But to those naysayers who say we don't have the infrastructure, we don't have the culture, we don't have the belief, we don't understand the benefits, because that was some of the reasons that they said we wouldn't work. What's your answer to those people?
So I think the answer is really our company vision. And that's that the Caribbean can be the most advanced electric mobility market in the world by 2025. And that's right on the horizon. So, I would say, it's an audacious goal, but we believe in it. And I'm sure when we get back from break, I can break down why we believe that to be true.
I definitely want to hear it. So folks, 2025, that's a target. We'll be ready for it. More with Kerry Escoffery from Flash Motors when we come back right here on the Bridge 99 FM. And welcome back to Levels and Medz here on Bridge 99 FM with me, your host, Jeffrey Azan. Folks, we're talking to Kerry Escoffery, CFO and co-founder of Flash Motors. And right before the break, Kerry said they have a vision that, not Jamaica, the Caribbean will be the most, I don't want to misquote him, we're going to be the most adapted or sustainable to electric vehicles. You know what? Let me bring in Kerry. Kerry, tell the people your vision before I mess it up.
Yeah, so we believe that the Caribbean can be the most advanced market for electric mobility by 2025.
All right. So explain that, because as far as the Bridge Nation is concerned, that would be beyond a lofty goal.
Yeah, no, we can look to adjacent markets to a place like Jamaica, for instance. So, a hard fact, Barbados in short time has become, the market with the most number of electric vehicles per capita in the Western Hemisphere, right? So we just have to look to our neighbors and actually see live evidence of this occurring. Bahamas has seen great, uptick in electric vehicles as well. And I think we have the opportunity now as kind of a second mover to absorb those learnings. We can look to first mover markets like, Canada and the United States, countries in Europe, and learn from some of the early lessons. I think we've gotten over significant hurdles that were, really an issue in the early days of electric mobility, but those have been solved. So, sometimes there is a first mover advantage, sometimes there's a second mover advantage. I think we can look to live experiences in other markets, learn what works and what doesn't, and actually deploy, the right strategies. One other thing that I would add is there's very unique characteristics and traits to the Caribbean as well. So things like shorter driving distances, things like a warm, kind of stable, temperate climate, supporting policy emerging from lawmakers and regulators. It's all really forming the ecosystem that we need to be really successful.
I hear all of that. And my thing is, I didn't call you on the show to challenge you, but I'm just representing the challenges people are posting. And I think you answering them will help to sway them to the understanding and belief. So I want to take it in three parts, because I really identify three main areas that electric vehicle is going to have to overcome if we're going to have that revolution. So the first one is infrastructure. Electrical infrastructure in Jamaica on a whole faces a number of challenges, much less the introduction of charging stations, as well as the concept, what happens when everybody is on the grid. We hit 2025 and we've achieved the revolution. Everybody's now on the grid. There are many that would say we can't even power the houses that are here, much less add a vehicle or two vehicles per house. How do we address that infrastructure challenge?
Yeah, no, I think these are real challenges. But on the flip side of that coin, I think one of the things that people begin to understand is introducing electric vehicles to a marketplace also introduces stationary and mobile storage opportunities for power. So, one of our vehicles, for instance, is enough to power a home for several days, right? So when we talk about power needs, we can actually talk about how we use those vehicles to power the home. So, we kind of have to reverse the thinking, right? Yes, electric vehicles are going to put strain on the grid, but in a lot of ways, they can actually support the grid, right? By providing power back into the grid when it's needed, taking it out of the grid when it's most affordable and the demand is lower.
I need you to explain that. I have to interrupt you because I don't understand the car power in the home. You need to break that down for me.
So the same way that we can pull power from the grid in an electric vehicle, we can actually push power into the grid, right? So, there are concepts that in the Caribbean that exist right now around net metering, for example, when it comes to pairing solar, right? You have the opportunity to power your home with solar, or you have the ability to actually push power back into the grid to actually support the grid as a whole. And so, with electric vehicles, the true value proposition down the line is that you can actually move power around. A car in a location actually represents a significant source of power that can power a home, right? It can power facilities. With some of the issues that we see in the grid right now, I think the way that utilities see the opportunity for electric mobility is how do we actually use these vehicles as a way to support the grid rather than take from the grid?
That is definitely something. I learned something new a while ago. I did not know that was an option coming with this industry change. Now, getting back to the point you were making before, you were saying that, well, I interrupted you after you had finished introducing the idea that the vehicle could power the home, and you're going further into the infrastructure model that would be necessary to support it.
Yes, I mean, the technology exists today. It's really just a matter of energy planning, right? It's a matter of understanding demand and supply needs for power. We have some really creative ways of doing that, and we'll probably be making announcements in the next few months that really, start to promote what the true opportunity is to support the grid as a whole. But yeah, that's one of the things I think we need to realize. It's a matter of give and take, right? I can take when it's not most required, and I can actually give back when it's in need from the grid as a whole. So, the technology is one that works both ways. It's the way that global markets are looking at the true value proposition of electric vehicles, and I really think it's about educating the public on what some of those opportunities are. So, rather than, considering it a strain, we can actually look at it as a potential opportunity to support our grid.
I'm here for all of it. So that's challenge one, infrastructure, and I think you've done an excellent job addressing the infrastructure challenge that, yes, while we'll be taking from it, we can also find ways to give to it and thus balance or even improve the electrical grids that we use and support. The second challenge that was raised by the Bridge Nation was the cost, the individual cost. One particular member of the nation sent me a message, and they said outside of purchasing the vehicle, one of their things is they had bought a vehicle, I forget the exact make and model, but it was a hybrid, so it had a gas function as well as a electric function, and they plugged it in to charge it, and they said for them their light bill skyrocketed. And I don't know if they then sat down and did the cost calculations, what was the difference between light bill and gasoline. But since that initial charge, they've only stuck with the gas function of the car, switching between the gas and electric while mobile rather than actually plugging it in and charging it. So how do we address that cause of concern of the cost of the vehicle?
Sure. So I think there's different types of costs that occur at different points of the life cycle of owning an electric vehicle, right? Speaking to the viewer's concerns specifically, with a hybrid vehicle, hybrids, we don't carry any hybrids. We are very much battery electric only. And the reason is, in a hybrid vehicle, you actually have two systems. You have two drivetrains to maintain, right? You have a gas system, and then you also have an electric system. Of which both you have to, ensure you maintain. We feel that the real opportunity is going, all the way into full battery electric vehicles. There are still use cases for hybrid vehicles, and we think that it was kind of it was a stepping stone to get us to full battery electric technology. But when we look at the cost, right, and I think that's the most important part. Yes, your light bill is going to increase, but you no longer have a gas bill, right? You're no longer pulling up at that gas station and fueling in gas. And when you do that conversion, what you see is between a 60 to 70% decrease in your fueling costs, right? Using electricity as your fuel is much more efficient than using gasoline as a fuel source. I'm going to probably depress some of your viewers that are still driving gas cars right now. But the next time you pull up to the pump and you put, 20,000 Jamaican dollars into your tank, right? Understand that only about it's the reality of the situation right now, right? Mm-hmm. One of the things that I tell people is, understand that only about 30 to 40% of the actual gas that you're putting into your vehicle is going towards the drivetrain and making that vehicle move, right? The other 60% of the gas that you put into your vehicle is actually lost to heat, it's lost to vibration, and it's lost to sound, right? All of these externalities that you get in an internal combustion engine vehicle that you don't get in an electric vehicle. So again, the next time you fill up your car, know that only 40% of it is moving you. The other 60% is heating you up, vibrating you and creating noise, right? All externalities that we don't actually want. It's important to think about what a gas vehicle actually is, right? It's profound, but at the same time, it's very inefficient, right? We're managing miniature explosions under our hood to make ourselves, move forward. There's a much more efficient way to do that, and that's what an electric drivetrain does, right? It's actually 99% efficient. So the electricity that you put in your battery is going directly to the drivetrain. It's the reason why EVs are silent. It's the reason they don't heat up. It's the reason they don't vibrate, right? It's direct power directly to your drivetrain. So I mean, that's where the savings comes from. It is true to say that electricity costs, particularly in the Caribbean, tend to be high. But the savings cost comes from the efficiencies realized of an electric drivetrain versus a gas drivetrain. If you have lower electricity costs, it drives those savings even further, right? And you can have up to like 90% savings to what you would have in the equivalent gas. But even where we are today at the electricity costs in Jamaica, we're seeing about 60 to 70% savings.
Well, I feel like you answered the third challenge which a lot of people proposed, is that the big champion of electric vehicles, nobody really addressed the efficiency, which you highlighted a while ago. So you're definitely swaying me to go and really look into getting an electric vehicle. I'll say you're a good salesman, if nothing else. Bev, who was on a couple of weeks ago, would agree wholeheartedly. But the third concern that a lot of people had is that they were expressing that there wasn't really any environmental benefit, under the assumption that, well, if I'm not burning oil in my vehicle, then I have to burn oil at JPS to get the electricity to then power the vehicle. So there's no really net environmental benefit. It's no longer me producing the waste. It's now JPS producing the waste. How would you address that for our listeners?
Yeah, no, it's a common, question that we get. Are electric vehicles truly emissions free? And it really depends on the grid, right? So when you talk about we're looking at a grid in Jamaica that is primarily fossil fuel based, right? So you're now taking that fossil fuel out of the vehicle, putting it into the plant to create electricity to then put into your vehicle. The fact of the matter is the production of electricity in a plant is far more efficient than the use in a vehicle. Right. So again, even if we are fossil fuel based today, a plant taking that fossil fuel and converting it to electricity is a much more efficient process than putting gas into your vehicle and burning it into your vehicle. The cost of idling, right? You're still expelling emissions when you're idling, and just the drivetrain mechanics itself. So I would say that, yes, there are still emissions that occur at the plant level, significantly less than what you're going to get in an individual car. But then the other thing that we see in the Caribbean is a huge propensity for renewable energy, right? And I think that's where the grid wants to go eventually. So I think we're going to see, the advantages on both sides, right? As the grid starts to clean up, the electricity that's going into your vehicle is more clean and more efficient. But even today, it's still a much more efficient process than putting gas into your car today.
Well, I can say that I believe I have been thoroughly converted. I was on the fence.
All right, got you.
I was definitely one of those folks who I didn't really see the benefit if I was spending gas or paying electricity. What's the deal? But really it comes down to, if there was a key word to take from everything you shared, it's this concept of efficiency. Is that while I am paying for gas and while JPS is producing electricity, there is a higher level of efficiency. So I'm actually getting what I pay for, as opposed to spending money, not knowing the conversion, and then just moving on in life.
That's it, absolutely, right? And I think that the part to add to that is that there's only an opportunity to get better from here, right? So as the grid cleans up, as the grid becomes more reliant on renewable sources of power generation, so do our cars realize that benefit as well.
All right, I'm with it. Oh, one more thing: lithium batteries. What was the phrase? The devil's in the details. Everybody talks about what's the cost of mining lithium and the manufacturing of the batteries and the disposal of the batteries. Can you speak to, I mean, I know you're CFO and not the environmentalist, but can you speak to that concern of the lithium battery? I leave it to you, really.
Yeah, you know what? I've hung out with enough engineers to be able to answer the question at a high level.
Okay.
One of the things that we are super passionate about is, where that lithium ion or where those materials are sourced, right? So for the vehicles that we represent, all of those materials are sourced in countries that are conducive to kind of providing the right support to the economy and the markets that those materials are coming out of. So I think at that level, that is actually a part of our mandate in ensuring, that whatever and wherever we source from, there is governance around that. The second thing is, from a battery perspective, batteries can have multiple lives, right? The battery in your vehicle today will degrade over time. So as you use that, you use your car, you could expect wear and tear, right? Or degradation on that battery over time. But that battery will always be useful in some capacity, right? So what we've seen in some other markets is, at the point in time that battery is no longer, great at moving you, right? And no longer great at delivering power to your vehicle, you can actually extract that battery and use it as stationary power, right? You can attach it to your home and create a stationary power source, which again is very good for our grid, very good for resiliency. So that's one way to kind of recycle or reuse the battery technology once it's kind of gotten to a place of degradation in your vehicle that you no longer find it useful. The other thing to keep in mind is, you're seeing a lot of companies emerge that actually extract materials from used batteries. It's important to note that the actual raw materials in the battery itself don't go anywhere. They can be removed from the battery and recycled. It's actually the battery cartridge and casing itself that degrades over time. The anodes, degrade over time. That needs to be replaced, but the raw materials in that battery can actually be recycled, repurposed, and reused, go right into a brand new battery and put back into another car. That's a very simple way of putting it. But we're at a place now where we talk about fossil fuels. Once you burn those fossil fuels, that's it, right? The raw materials that go into a battery can be extracted from the battery, repurposed, and reused. So, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, when we have, a number of used vehicles on the road, we need to start thinking about what are we going to do with these used batteries. We can repurpose them, right? Use them as stationary storage, or we can actually extract materials from them and repurpose them for another battery. So high level answer, coming from the non-engineer in the company, Xavier would be much more passionate talking about that subject. But at a high level, that's really what the potential of a battery has.
Got you. And I think that covers the concerns. Well, Kara, I'm here to tell you that we have a caller. You have stirred the hive, and we have somebody online right now who has something they want to share about it. Caller, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we're hearing you. You're on Levels and Medz here on the Bridge 99 FM, and you're with me, Jeffrey Azan, and joining me is Kerry Escoffery. Do you have, what are your thoughts? We're talking about the electric vehicles. What are your thoughts?
All right, well, first of all, good morning to everyone.
Morning.
Great. And when it comes down to my thoughts, I think with the Jamaicans, there is an innate fear of change, which I think is really deterring most people from innovation or what's really best for us to move forward to. I really am on the side of moving to electric cars, even if it's a case where we don't have the proper infrastructure to actually mass produce them or have them be fully active in the country right now.
Right.
But when you look at the trends or what's happening with our fossil fuel usage, if we don't strike while the iron is hot right now when it comes down to electric vehicles, we will not only one be behind the curve, which as a pro-Jamaican, it's really sick and tired of that. Like, it really doesn't make sense.
Right.
And two, it would be just burning out something that is already on the decline, which is indeed our fossil fuels.
All right. Definitely sounds like you know what you're talking about. Kerry, you have anything to address this need to spark change in the people's mindset?
Yeah, no, sorry, caller, I didn't get your name, but I think you struck it dead on. The challenge that we face ahead of us isn't one of technology. It's not one of the capability of the technology. It's really changing behavior, right? And changing behavior is very difficult. When we talk about things like fueling a vehicle, right, charging your vehicle or going to a gas station, we've become so used to the way that we fuel a car, right? We drive around until the yellow light comes on and it says E, and then we're scrambling to find a gas station. At least I used to be, right? We get to that gas station, we fuel up, and then our anxiety is gone and we're able to continue on. The difference with an electric vehicle, when you talk about infrastructure, one, that infrastructure is starting to proliferate, right? So we're seeing companies like JPS, we're seeing companies like Evergo deploy charging stations in the marketplace. In fact, I think by the end of this year, we expect about 300 different charging points across the island, which I think is superb. But there's also a change in behavior, right? I hear a lot of individuals talk about, stopping for 30 and 45 minutes to charge their vehicle and how inconvenient that is. But think about the convenience of, having 500 kilometers, worth of range in your vehicle, significantly more than you're likely going to use in a day. Right, we've driven from Kingston to Mobay and back on a single charge in some of our vehicles. But think about the convenience of getting back home, plugging in at home, and then waking up to that 500 kilometers again without scrambling to find that gas station. Right, electricity is ubiquitous. Right, it's everywhere. So anywhere we can actually pull power can actually become the point at which we fuel or charge our vehicles. And there's great advantages and benefits and convenience to that. So it's, back to your point, we're so used to doing things a certain way. Is it the right way? Maybe not, right? There are more useful ways and convenient ways to do a lot of things. That charging example is just one. And we do similar today, right? With your phone, you charge it overnight, you wake up, you use it throughout the day, you get home, you plug it in, and then you're off to the races again tomorrow, right? And we need to kind of shift that mentality to kind of be more adaptive to where technology is going.
I'm for it. I hope that addresses your concern, Sir Caller. And what's your name? My bad. I should have asked for it.
Oh, my name is Marco, M-A-R-C-O.
All right, Marco. Thank you so much for calling, and I hope that we're able to quell some of your concerns about the revolution. And we're happy that you're a part of the revolution. I feel like I'm slowly getting on the bandwagon as of today.
Right side of history.
Right side of history.
That's right.
All right, thank you so much.
2025 is right around the corner.
2025 is around the corner. Got it. All right, Kerry, I think that we have fully covered the individual concerns as far as electric vehicles go. we need to shift gears now into the business. What is the benefit? You know, you have many companies. We'll use delivery companies, for example, a FedEx, a Tara, a DHL, that they have fleets of vehicles. Is there a benefit to those companies going electric? You know, because I'm sure that's going to make their light bill skyrocket. But I'm going to assume that there is so much more benefits to the conversion. Can you speak to some of those benefits that companies may be entitled to?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we're seeing it live today. So as it stands right now, we have been supplying fleets with electric vehicles. And we actually launched a program recently where we're lending electric vehicles to the government of Jamaica so that they can feel, see, experience, and see the actual live data of where those savings opportunities come from. I'd mentioned earlier that there's a life cycle to the spend on an electric vehicle, right? So you pay for it up front. The upfront cost for an electric vehicle today tends to be slightly higher than your conventional vehicle. But the total cost of operations over the life of that vehicle are significantly lower, right? So we talked about 60 to 70% savings in your fueling costs, right? So using electricity versus using gas, the efficiency savings is significant there. And again, you're going to see that light bill go up, but you no longer have that gas bill, right? In addition, if anybody's looked under the bonnet of an electric vehicle, I mean, there's nothing there, right? Significantly less moving parts create for significant maintenance savings as well. So, no more spark plugs, no more pistons, no more explosions under the hood leading to a bunch of different technical maintenance repair issues. Maintenance is significantly less. You're going to have the same type of maintenance when it comes to the other components of the vehicle, your tires, your brakes, that sort of thing. In fact, you even save on your brakes. I'll get into that in a moment. But those two sides of the coin there, those fuel savings as well as the maintenance savings over the total life of that vehicle is a positive value proposition. And so, corporate clients, I think, look at their vehicle purchases in that way, right? The retail experience is a bit different. But a business is going to really look at their bottom line, and we can demonstrate today what those savings are. And that has really been where the excitement for those fleet conversion type of projects have been.
I hear you speak to. I mean, I was really only thinking about fuel, but you're talking about the brakes as well. I'm assuming that there's going to be more than brakes because, yes, it's electric, but it's still a motor. There has to be some level of maintenance of a motor. It's just an electric motor. Are we going to need special technicians who can service electric motors? Do we have to concern ourselves with that? I mean, right now, I do my own servicing on my vehicle, basic servicing, air filter, oil change, oil filter, gas brakes, radiator coolant. I can do that. Am I going to need this new level of training with an electric motor?
So I'll just highlight 90% of the components that you just mentioned do not even exist in an electric vehicle, right? And so, so right off the bat, less components means significantly less maintenance. But it is true, yes, there is it's a completely new drivetrain, right? And technicians need to be experienced or have the skill set to be able to service them. We've seen tremendous, uptake in educational programs in the Jamaican marketplace. So organizations like HEART have introduced a certification program. We've been going around, certifying technicians and dealerships on how to service electric vehicles. Jagus has a program as well. And so, the shift is happening. And yes, there is a kind of a retooling and a level setting of skills in order to be able to service electric vehicles. But generally speaking, significantly less maintenance because there are less parts. On the brakes front, one of the interesting, benefits or technologies in an electric vehicle is regenerative braking. So what that is, I mean, you can technically drive an electric vehicle without using the brake pedal. Right? As you come off of the accelerator, your motor spins backwards. That spinning backwards of the motor actually brings your vehicle to a stop. And in spinning your motor backwards, you're actually pushing power back into your battery. right? So you're able to recharge your battery as you slow down and come to a stop, or as you're, kind of going downhill. We live in, a very hilly terrain. Like I was on the North-South Highway the other day, and actually seeing, as I go up a hill, I'm expending more energy, right? And it's taking power out of my battery. But as I'm coming back down that hill, I'm actually putting power back into my battery, right? I'm, using my brakes much less because I have that spinning backwards of the motor and that regenerative braking. And so, there's really a whole new technology in the way that we mobilize ourselves, that introduces a bunch of different ways to be much more efficient in that process.
So just for the simplicity of my mind, you're saying that when I charge my vehicle and I get that 500 kilometer charge, that really with the braking and the cruising and all of that throughout the day, I might be getting, and I'm just using simple numbers, 510, 515, 520 instead of the 500 charge. So I'm actually getting more than I charged into the vehicle at the end of the day.
Yeah, you can think of it that way. It also depends on, how hard of a driver you are. Jeffrey, you look like a hard driver.
I mean, I have a heavy foot.
Hey, man, I get that sense. So, similar to the way that, how efficient you drive your gas vehicle is going to contribute to your fuel economy. Same thing you're going to see in your electric vehicle.
Gotcha.
But I think as just as an analogy, yes, right, you can actually put power back into your battery, depending on the way that you drive and kind of your driving habits, whether you're downhill, coming to a stop, that sort of thing.
Got you. Folks, we're having the most interesting conversation about the electric vehicle revolution. We're going to be taking a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be wrapping up all that there is to know about the electric vehicle revolution and how you can benefit from what is to come. That and much more when we come back. Good morning and welcome back to Levels and Meds here on the Bridge 99 FM with me, your host, Jeffrey Azan. Now remember, if you just tune in into the Bridge, you can check us out on the radio, 99.1 to 0.9. Check us out online at thebridge99fm.com, or if you're on the move, you can download our mobile app in the Android Play Store or Apple App Store by simply searching the Bridge 99 FM. All one word. Folks, we've been talking about the electric vehicle revolution, driving innovation in the automotive industry, and joining us virtually has been CFO and co-founder Kerry Escoffery of Flash Motors. And folks, I know I've joined the conversation. If you want to find out what we've been talking about, if you want to get all that background, you can head on over to the Bridge 99 FM's YouTube page, the Bridge 99 FM, and I promise you the interview is going to be uploaded there, as well as all of the shows are uploaded and available at our YouTube channel. Now, as we wrap up last few minutes of today's episode of Levels and Meds, Kerry, we've spoken about the benefits of the individual. We've spoken about the cost-saving benefits to a company. What about national? When we're looking at introducing, because this is really a technological, revolution, it's going to change a lot. What sort of industry opportunities are we looking at? What are we looking at in terms of job creation, company creation, family elevation, etc.? If you can speak to that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the numerous opportunities. So one, we talked about, the upskilling and educational programs that are now launching in the market from institutions like HART, JAGIS. There is a shift to a brand new technology for mobility. And so, we're going to need technicians. We're going to need individuals that understand that technology and can service that technology. So I think on that front, you're going to see some emergence in new skill sets there. From an entrepreneurial perspective, I think there is a need to support a brand new burgeoning industry, right? So ourselves, we're a young company with experience in other markets coming to this market to service it. But there's a whole ecosystem around electric vehicles, right? So, you talk about charging infrastructure. You're seeing new businesses emerge on the charging infrastructure front to actually fuel or charge those vehicles. There's a number of different components and parts to electric vehicles. So one thing that we're finding in the Jamaican marketplace, for instance, is that there's a bit of a lack of standardization that we find in other markets. While that is difficult for a distributor like myself, it creates opportunities for entrepreneurs to get into the space. The ability to supply components to kind of help that standardization or help assist intercompatibility between systems is an opportunity. Just thinking about the vehicles themselves, we're talking about large moving computers with significant amount of storage capacity, right? I'll let individuals' minds wander on what the opportunities are with that. I know we certainly have some ideas as to what you can get out of a supercomputer on wheels with storage, right? You're seeing a lot of that, a lot of those opportunities in other markets too. So, in a lot of ways, you don't have to be the most creative individual. You just have to look to other markets and see how some of these hurdles and challenges have been overcome. Things like the recycling efforts that we talked about, right? Well, what happens at the end of life of these batteries? We have an idea as to what we're going to do, but the market is much larger than just us, right? Creating opportunities for others. Recycling of the raw materials in those batteries, right? Who can step up to the plate to do those sorts of things? And there's tons of examples to look at globally of companies, kind of addressing that challenge. So, we're talking about launching a brand new technology. We're not just talking about cars, right? This is a brand new industry. And so, at the beginning of that industry is where there's the most opportunity. There's significant risks in the early days, but I think we can look to examples across global markets for how some of those risks and challenges have been addressed. And it's really about porting some of those things over into the domestic market.
Got you. Folks, I'm sold. I'm on the bandwagon. I'm going to get into the market. I'm going to be looking at buying next vehicle purchase. Definitely going to be reaching out to Kerry and the electric vehicle suppliers of Jamaica. If you're not one, you need to get in it, because I'm going to guess, Kerry, the more developers or distributors of vehicles, if they're all going into electric, it's going to benefit you, it's going to benefit them, it's going to benefit the nation if we kind of just all move on that wave.
Absolutely. We're excited about the opportunity in front of us. We're excited about the opportunities for everybody else. There's a lot of creative individuals in the space right now that are constantly introducing new ideas. And it's electric.
With that, Sir Kerry, if people want to get in touch with Flash Motors, where can they find you? How can they be in touch with you? All of that good stuff.
Yeah, so our website is www.flash-motors.com. You can also visit us on Instagram at flash.motors. Tons of exciting things in the pipeline coming. So, hoping that you guys join and watch the revolution.
There you go. Folks, go ahead, follow at flash.motors, right?
Correct.
Or head over to their website, www.flash-motors.com.
That's it.
You see, my memory not so bad. And while you're doing that, folks, remember, you need to follow the Bridge 99 FM. You need to hop on over to Levels and Medz. So it's Levels and Medz with a Z on IG, so you can find out who's up, what's happening, what are happening on our shows. Tons of information, tons of update, tons of media, tons of entertainment you don't want to miss. So head on over, make sure you're following those socials. Kerry, thank you so much for joining us today. I have been blessed with all of this information. I've really been on the fence about the electric vehicle revolution. I'm a late adapter. I've accepted that in terms of technology. I know I'm a late adapter. I don't want to be the person figuring out the problems first. I let others do that. And
sure.
And then there's a little bit of a hippie in me where I don't want to be on the wave where everybody's like, oh, everybody has an electric vehicle. I wait for it to pass. So I've accepted. I'm a late adapter in a lot of things, but this has definitely opened up my eyes, and I thank you so much for joining us here on Levels on Medz, sharing with us, educating the people, and providing us with a glimpse into the opportunities that this vehicle revolution is going to create on an individual level, on a corporate level, and even possibly on a national level. So again, thank you so much for joining us.
No, thanks for having me. And please let me know when we can get you in for a test drive.
There we go. There we go. Folks, this has been another phenomenal episode of Levels and Meds. Big thank you to my producer Doms, technical operator Kevin, always holding it down in studio. Thank you for the caller, Sir Marco, for calling in. Appreciate it. Remember, in the future, if you haven't already saved it, go ahead and save. Our WhatsApp line is 876-551-5782 and our studio line 876-676-4996. It's not just a lecture, it's a conversation, and we love when you guys are a part of it. But with all of that said, that's it. Levels and Meds, all about next level living, next level thinking. Until next time, this has been your host, Jeffrey Azan. Have a great day, and don't stop leveling up. Till next time.